In this video, I am going to discuss a fundamental concept of chemistry, that is octet rule. Octet rule refers to the tendency of an element to have 8 electrons in the valence shell. Valence shell means the outermost orbital of the atom. And when an atom achieves 8 electrons in the valence shell, it is called the stable electronic configuration. But one thing we have to understand, that sometimes some atoms have less than 8 valence electron and still it is stable. It is called the open octet. And sometimes valence electron count exceeds than the 8 electron, that is called the expanded octet. Now hydrogen and helium, they do not follow octet rule. We know that hydrogen has one valence electron. And when hydrogen lose one electron, it becomes H plus, there is no electron. And when hydrogen accept one electron, it becomes H minus hydride ion. So here we can see that hydrogen is not following octet rule. Similarly, helium is a noble gas and helium has only 2 electrons in its valence orbital and still it is very stable. So that's why helium is also not following octet rule. We can take few examples of noble gas where we can see that few noble gas are following octet rule, few are not following octet rule. Like noble gas are neon and argon, they follows octet rule because their valence orbital has 8 electrons. But from krypton we can see they are not following octet rule. In the krypton they have 18 valence electrons in the valence orbital. So that means from the krypton, radon and xenon, they do not follow octet rule. Now I am going to take some examples where we can explain that how octet rule is used by the elements to formation of cation, anion, ionic compound and covalent compound. Sodium has only one valence electron. If sodium lose this one electron, sodium is getting noble gas configuration, means 8 electrons in the valence orbital. So sodium has a tendency to lose one electron and form Na plus because it's getting noble gas configuration 8 electrons in the valence orbital and it gives the stability to the element. Next example is the formation of anion. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. If oxygen can accept 2 electrons, it will be O2 minus oxide and it is a very stable electronic configuration. So that's why oxygen has a tendency to form oxide by accepting 2 electrons so that it can get 8 valence electrons. So it is following octet rule. Magnesium has 2 valence electrons and oxygen has 6 valence electrons. So if magnesium can donate 2 electrons to oxygen, oxygen will be oxide anion and it becomes octet. And magnesium losing the 2 electrons, it follows the octet rule. So that means magnesium losing 2 electrons, magnesium will be magnesium 2 plus cation and oxygen will be oxide anion. Now there is a cation and anion, there will be a strong electrostatic interaction between the cation and anion and will be getting a ionic compound magnesium oxide. Now let's explain the formation of O2 molecule. It is also an example of covalent compound. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. If the two oxygen atoms share 2 electrons with each other, they form O2 molecule. So this is an example of covalent compound where we can see they are following octet rule. Here I have taken another example where boron and fluorine is making a compound which is called BF3. It is an example of covalent compound. Boron has 3 valence electrons and fluorine has 7 valence electrons. That means fluorine needs 1 more electron to fulfill the octet, but boron needs 5 electrons to fulfill the octet. Now each fluorine atom is sharing 1 electron with the boron and they are forming a covalent compound BF3. Here we can see that fluorine octet is fulfilled but boron octet is not fulfilled. Boron has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 valence electron, that means it needs 2 more electrons to fulfill the octet. So this is one of the example where we can see that octet is not fulfill by formation of a covalent compound. So from all these examples, one thing we have to understand that elements always try to achieve noble gas configuration by accepting or donating or by sharing electrons. In that regard, they can fulfill the octet rule, means they can achieve the 8 electrons in the valence orbital, but it doesn't mean that always they have to follow the octet rule. So that's why octet rule is one of the way to get the stability by achieving 8 electrons in the valence orbital, but it is not true in all the cases. I hope this video is useful for the students and it clears the concept of octet rule. Thank you for watching it.